Thank you again. Okay, some closing thoughts. Before we do that, I have a question. I need something answered for me from the Rewst team. These poker chips, there seems to be a mystery around the poker chips. Is anyone available from the Rewst team to maybe explain what's going on there and what may await our attendees or may not await them? Sounds good.
Yes, let me get hooked up real quick so that you can see what I was talking about. But who all, yeah, it's really hard to see. Who all has the chip, the coin, and has noticed that it's a little weird? All right, so you may have noticed that the head side, the Stewart Rewsty head side says hosted by rew.st. The back says in automation we trust, but there's a little weird space in there. So what we're expecting is that some people might have tried that as a domain name, in which case you would get a really, I guess, cryptic poem here, thanks to my friend ChatGPT, who is way more creative than I am. We have a little rhyme here. I guess the key in here is that you can't automate a process is something that Aaron says, but he also finishes it with something. Does anybody know what the rest of that is? That's right. Can't automate a process that does not exist. So then we can go over to yet another domain name with yet another little riddle in here. But a couple of weird things we would see in the riddle is there is a URL right here. And then a link to a leaderboard. If you go to this URL, you see some weird programming stuff. How many people figured that this meant you had to do something else? Awesome. How many got a little bit past this? All right. And how many of you ended up on the leaderboard here? Cool. How many of you guessed a number? How did you do it? Anybody want to just blurt out like, yeah, Brandon. What's that? Binary sort. So there's a few steps in here. One is that you are kind of left to your own devices to figure out what to do. Well, that came out looking really weird. What if I expand it? Yeah, so I did build this as a Rewst workflow. If anybody is interested in getting a copy of the game itself, come see me after. I will happily copy it to you if you're a Rewst user. If you're not, then I can maybe give you just kind of my ideas of how this is built. I also have a solution here, but yeah, a binary sort is a good way of doing it. So those of you who ended up on the leaderboard with a found solution, we do have a little bit of prize for you. And if you are interested in claiming the prize, come meet us at the end. And this will be based on, the amount of your prize will be based on your ranking for your first attempt. I see a lot of people, created additional email addresses and made multiple attempts, but your ranking of your first attempt of the found solution is what's going to determine, the denomination of your prize. Must be present to win. So come see Ed and myself afterwards. But a little bit about the scoring of it. This challenge, what's interesting about it is this could be solved either via a manual process or an automated process. However, automation is the only way to get the highest score because the score is based upon the number of attempts that it took you to get there, as well as the total amount of elapsed time between when you started the real test and finished it. You couldn't just burst your way through it because, as a lot of you who finished it found out, there's a delay. If you try to attempt too fast, you lose points for going too fast. If you take too slow, then you would, not be the fastest solution. But yeah, I thought this would be fun for you guys. And again, meet us at the back to get your prizes.
Okay, I have one closing thought, and then I want to call Aharon up to the stage to thank him and also get some closing thoughts from him. My closing thought is this. Many of the presentations, my own included, talked a little bit about the evolution of this industry and the early days, the shift from VAR to managed services. When that happened, those were dangerous times. On the one hand, we all had a vision for where this could go, but you had to convince a customer of a recurring revenue model, and you had to trust software tools back in the early 2000s that weren't necessarily ready. Cloud came along. We all had to deal with BPOS and things like that from Microsoft in the early days. And again, it was challenging, and it felt a little uncomfortable to get going with cloud initially, and then it became real big for all of us. Fast forward to automation, all I would say is the water's safe. The water is absolutely safe to go in. It's proven up in the enterprise. Many of the attendees here are succeeding with it already in SMB. Get in the water, find some lifeguards if you're having a little bit of trouble. There's lifeguards in the room. There's lifeguards throughout the industry. Get in the water and get going and create those centers of excellences. Those are my thoughts, other than also a big thank you. I don't travel nearly as much anymore. I'm thrilled to say most of my time is with my wife and kids these days, which is like the biggest blessing in the world. It's awesome. But when I do come out, it's to be with cool people like you. It's pretty awesome. So congratulations on the businesses you're building. Aharon, are you in the house? I want to turn it over to you. Awesome. Thank you again for having me. I've had a blast.
It feels like this conference just started. Who here, if I can see your hands, has ever gone to, does cybersecurity and has been to an RSA conference or heard of it before? A couple of you, yeah. While the RSA conference has a vendor's name in the title, it's very much a vendor neutral cybersecurity conference. We need something like this in the automation space, probably even more so than the cybersecurity space, because the whole point of automation is product interoperability so that we can then get to business value, and we cannot do it without this interoperability. So for those of you that attend the Rewst Friday open mic sessions, I say this every Friday since we started Flow, which is this is our chance as a community to own the automation conference. So if we want to own it, we need to keep doing it. So if you had fun, share your thoughts, share your photos, go on social media, tell your friends, tell your MSP peers. I know a bunch of you folks stood up before, but just like a show of hands, you interested in a 2025? Awesome. For us, this was a pretty big risk as an early startup. You have a lot going on. I mean, imagine your businesses. We're growing like crazy, and I'm taking some teams that are super busy and saying, yes, don't focus on your day job. Focus on this vendor-neutral automation conference. So I want to thank some of the teams that did that. Marketing team, thank you. Education team, thank you. You folks killed it. Sales, development team that rushed out the version control, thank you. And with that, thank you everybody for coming. This is the end, and I'm so sad. I really like to see you folks every day. It was so nice to see your faces and to know at night that, hey, I'm bored. I'm going to go down and see who my friends are that are at the bar. It's all of you. And talk some automation shop. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you again next year at Flow 25. Thank you.